This is a retrospective history of the dawn of movie and a prehistory of cinema itself. The body of this video deals with the origin of motion pictures and the ancestors of cinema beginning several millennia before the birth of Jesus Christ and culminating in the final decade of the 19th century. The word cinema comes from the Greek word kinematos, meaning the science of pure motion. Motion has often been depicted in early cave art. When the subject, mostly animals, has been that which can provide movement, we often see it in that state. It is quite possible, therefore, that the camera obscura effect was seen in primitive times and documented as well. Not with ink on paper, however, but with primitive paint on cave walls. Pinhole images have been seen since the time of man's creation. Those who may have dwelt in caves or similar structures, including tents, saw the pinhole image. This was therefore the most primitive of camera obscuras. The basic optical principles of the pinhole are commented on in Chinese texts from the 5th century BC. Chinese writers had discovered by experiments that light travels in straight lines. The philosopher Mo Ti was the first to record the formation of an inverted image with a pinhole or screen. Mo Ti was aware that objects reflect light in all directions and that rays from the top of an object, when passing through a hole, will produce the lower part of an image. Aristotle, Greek philosopher, taught that objects themselves emit light which the eye sees. Aristotle observes crescent-shaped images created during an eclipse through small holes in the leaves of trees, furniture, and the crossing of the fingers. Aristotle notes that the smaller the hole, the clearer the image. He goes on to observe that regardless of the shape of the pinhole, the light passing through is always in a circular shape. This phenomenon will become known as one of Aristotle's problems and will remain unreasoned until the 16th century. Was the Bayeux tapestry an early attempt to describe an historical event in cinematic fashion? The tapestry could also be the world's first panorama. And what about the linearity of the tapestry? Like a 70mm strip of linen, Technicolor, it unfolds frame by frame into a masterfully woven story of betrayal, war, and victory. What appears to be the earliest ever illustration of the camera obscura is found in a book by Fontana in 1320. The drawing shows a nun holding a vertically shaped camera with an image on the inside. Historians and commentators routinely speak of this illustration as a lantern. However, the apparatus held is nothing like a lantern. The camera obscura contains the image and the lantern projects it. In this drawing by Fontana, we see the image within the held object. The magic lantern is a precursor of the first motion picture projector. It was first seen and used around 1644-1645 and soon became a showman's instrument. At the close of the 17th century, traveling showmen, lanternists would put on shows at any venue they could use, including castles. The term magic lanterns is derived from the fact that these shows featured devils, ghosts, and goblins, to name a few. It was originally called its Latin name, the Lanterna Magica. Brunelleschi is believed to have either built or used a camera obscura in these years. Besides his use of the camera obscura, Brunelleschi also developed a peep show or perspective viewer which provided a 3D image and incredible depth. His viewer was created using a glass plate on which a silver background was painted. Overlying this was painted an image of the baptistry in Florence. At the vanishing point of the image, Brunelleschi placed a hole for the eyes to see through. Using a mirror and turning that plate around, the observer would see the image reflected on the mirror, with the sky and clouds reflected off the silver base. This ingenious use of the mirror and silver added to the depth of the peep show image. Leonardo da Vinci gives the fullest description known to date on the camera obscura. His work on the camera would not become common knowledge in the civilized world for almost 3 centuries. In all of da Vinci's works, there are 270 separate diagrams of the camera obscura. These descriptions would remain unknown of for 297 years when Professor Venturi would decipher and publish them in 1797. The camera lucida was an offshoot discovery of the camera obscura. Useful as a drawing aid to artists as opposed to the entertaining attraction of the camera, the lucida was more portable. Lucida means light room, referring to the need for light and that it must be used in the daylight. In 1680, Hugh would present a paper to the royal family where Hugh would describe and present a cone-shaped camera lucida which he called a lucida. During the early part of 18th century, Muschenbroek very likely was the first to attempt motion through a simple effect in the magic lantern. By using two sets of frames simultaneously, Muschenbroek was able to create a sense of motion for the first time. During the 18th century and the first half of the 19th, the camera obscura was embraced more by artists than by scientists. It was encouraged to be used for drawing, sketching, and painting. The phantasmagoria became an extremely popular piece of entertainment for children as well as adults. Born of a combination of the shadow play, the magic lantern, and the desire to deceive or trick, the phantasmagoria could be considered the forefather of today's horror movie. Subjects were primarily of the black magic or necromancy categories: ghosts, spirits, dead relatives or personalities, and politicians. The purpose was to scare the audience to death. Techniques included the use of smoke, the shadow play, use of two or more magic lanterns, hidden projection on glass, and many other ingenious moves. The panorama was unique in the sense that one could not only see the center of the picture but also the peripheral vision could see as in nature, the outer corners of the view. This gives us the sense that there is no boundary other than the limitations of the eye itself. Barker makes his first public presentation of his new panorama at Leicester Square in London in 1792. Patrons sat in the center of a slowly revolving rotunda, which measured 16 feet high and 45 feet in diameter. One of the most important constituents in the discovery of motion pictures was the photograph. Like almost all other discoveries throughout time, photography was the result of accumulated technical knowledge covering a period of no less than 300 years. Joseph Nicephore Nipsey is credited with producing the world's first permanently captured image, which he called a heliograph or sun drawing. Nipsey's photograph was made in 1826 and was taken from a window looking out across the rooftops of the Nipsey's home. The photograph was made in a camera obscura and took an 8-hour exposure. Muybridge and Mary were interested in motion rather than in photography. They combined studies and experimentations in stop-action series photography and motion study analysis have led to wonderful inventions within modern times. Thanks to a simple vision regarding the movement of a horse's legs during a trot, Muybridge began to pave the way for cinematography to become an eventual reality of this world. By 1877, to study the gait of a running horse, Muybridge set up on a racetrack in California a row of 12 cameras that had electric shooter controls. As a horse ran by the cameras, it tripped strings that activated the shooters and exposed the plates. Muybridge repeated the experiment using 24 cameras. In this way, the first instantaneous photographs of unpaused continuous motion were made. A short time later, George Eastman, also an American, marketed a similar transparent, flexible movie to be used with a Kodak camera he invented. Celluloid movie, though highly flammable, could be manufactured in continuous fashion. By the middle of the 19th century, still photographs began to replace drawings on optical discs. By 1870, inventors in the United States and England had developed devices in which posed photographs of motion, mounted on a revolving disc, passed between a light source and a lens for projection for an audience. These mechanisms created an illusion of motion, but it was not yet possible for the photographer to capture on movie the objects in motion. Frenchman Louis Augustin Leprince patented a machine to film and project images using celluloid movie in 1888. Leprince never showed his cinematograph pictures to anyone other than his co-workers. However, no other strip of work in the movie has been discovered that predates the Leeds Bridge traffic scene of 1888. These all events preceded the screening of the first public movie of Brothers Lumière's Arrival of a Train at La Ciotat in 1896. How the movie developed further, watch in the next part. See you soon. Bye!